guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. I'm back with some more on the Ohio horror house. And there is quite a bit of talk all over social media and throughout, well, the country, really. This happened in Ohio and I'm in Florida. So, about this case. Now, we're going to start, like I said, we're going to kind of dive into this in pieces. Yesterday, I went through the press conference that the Attorney General and the Sheriff's Office, the Vinton County Sheriff's Office, held last week after they rescued these 16 children. So today, this one's probably going to be fairly short. I just wanted to go through some of the court documents and some information that I seem to be able to mostly confirm, but there's a lot of information out there that's not necessarily, fact, or it's really just alleged, and that's not uncommon in these cases at all. People, hear something from someone else and, what have you. The biggest thing that of concern is, of course, photos. There are no photos, no photographs or video have been released by law enforcement of inside of this home. The photos that you can see from the outside and basically at the windows, these are the extent of the photos that have been released to this date as I record this on July 7th. There are no other photographs. So if you are seeing other photos online, they are either AI or they're from another case that people are either getting confused or they're trying to just put out there and it's not true. So let me go through a few things that I was able to find out today, and then we'll go over to the court clerk's website and just look through what's been going on there as far as this case where it stands right now. So this is a bit of information that I was able to, like I said, it's basically confirmed, but really nothing is confirmed until law enforcement or it enters the court record. But there was running water in the home. Okay. That has been debated because, well, they look like they haven't showered, and allegedly the person that owned the property passed away in April, but apparently there was running water in the home and grandma was paying it. Grandma Sider was paying the bill. Now, I don't know where she got the money from. Apparently some family, both sides stated that they did help with water bill, but yeah, there was running water in the home. As far as their education, relatives are stating that they thought the kids were being homeschooled, but there's there's no evidence of this. Like we said yesterday, and law enforcement has been stating from the get-go, these kids, they don't have a lot of, they can't speak, they can't read. The 18-year-old can't spell her name. So for them to think that they have been homeschooled, I'm not buying it. And that's another reason why some of these relatives, when they're stating that, oh, if we would have known the horrific conditions that this family was in, that there were 16 children in this home, we would have helped more. I don't buy it. I really don't. So I think that there's more to the story about the relatives than they are willing to admit at this juncture. Now, the kids, we already know there was an 18-year-old in the home, okay? 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 8, and 6. She was popping out those babies, Elizabeth Sider was. And that doesn't equal 16, remember, as well as twin 4-year-old girls, 4-year-olds, I don't know if they're boys or girls, 2-year-old twins, and 1-year-old twins. Yeah, like multiple sets of twins. Now, Elizabeth married Gary Jr. when she was just 15 years old, and he was 18 years old at that time. So the the stories that she was a basically a teen bride, well, that's true. And they're stating that she actually had a child at 13, and they're not confirming that, but I believe it. I do. She was pregnant at the time they got married. Again, she was, 15 years old and she was pregnant. This is when she gave birth to the 18-year-old at 2 months after they tied the knot, which I'm sure was not like some elaborate wedding either. It was probably like papers at the courthouse and that sort of stuff. Again, because her family, her parents, they allowed her to marry Gary Jr., and they signed their daughter away. Uh, they are also stating that she didn't have a great life at home. Um, I don't know if that's completely true, but it does seem like there was some issues on both sides of the quote unquote family. And Gary Jr., daddy, he worked as a DoorDash delivery driver once they did get married while he was looking for other work. I don't know what other work he did at this point or if he really has been doing a lot of work, but apparently he was, at least at one point, he delivered DoorDash. So y'all may have had him as your DoorDash driver if you live in, some of these areas that they have lived in before. And Elizabeth, she was indoctrinated and estranged from her family for years. This this kind of seems to me pretty legitimate. Like I said, there has been some debate with some of these family situations here, not just on the Sider side, Gary Sr., Grandma, Grandpa, and Junior, but the relative that's speaking out, which is a brother allegedly of Elizabeth. Um, they've been talking about how she hadn't really spoken to the family in quite a number of years. So the fact that she may have been a victim, well, she had kids when she was 13, 14. She was pregnant at 15 when she was married to Gary Jr., and her parents just were like, "Sure," you know. So it doesn't surprise me that she was indoctrinated or gaslit into this relationship as far as that's concerned. Um, is Elizabeth a victim? You guys let me know. Do you think that she's a victim? I'm in the middle. I think that she was initially a victim. Do I think she was just so into it, she just felt like she could never get away? I don't know. I mean, at some point she's got to know that this is not right. So I don't know where the victim, you know, her being a victim ended, if it ever did. Um, as far as being charged, she probably will get a bit of a better deal if the state does anything, considering that I think that they will see her as at least a bit of a victim. But we'll see how that goes. We're still super early into that. There were twin girls that were born to Elizabeth, and they passed away. They died in November of 2022 at, I think it's 24 weeks. I think I did a typo there. At 24 weeks old, and they were conjoined. So, um, apparently, that was not because of them. It had to do with the fact that they were conjoined twins, and they just passed away. Gary Sr., crazy grandpa. He recently suffered a stroke, and he's, of course, not in the best of health, but that's not surprising at all. Elizabeth's brother, he's been speaking out a bit. He claims that they recently reconnected after 15 years of being estranged. So, and he's also one that's claimed that they had no idea that they were in these conditions, and their nephews and nieces were in these conditions. And I don't know, guys. if they connected in the recently, and they have seen these children or spoken to any of this family, I don't know. I mean, I have a little bit of a hard time completely believing that they didn't know. And that also comes back to these neighbors. eh, you know, as far as, they claim that they didn't see any children outside and they weren't suspicious. So I'm not trying to put blame on them, but did they really not know? And then, of course, the dollar store clerks, Circle K clerks, they do have some stories that they did see them out and about. But, I mean, the general public, it does seem like that they sort of just overlooked some things and just kind of carried on, uh, saying that they didn't have any suspicions. I'm not sure I believe that. But some people just think that, they just, shouldn't get involved in other people's problems. But, there were kids in danger here. So, I think a call to, police for a welfare check was definitely in order. We don't know too much about Gary Jr.'s charges, that parallel case that brought them to their door last week on June 30th, but something has to do with indecent exposure in public. That doesn't shock me in the slightest. So once I hear more about that, I'll let you guys know. And these four monsters, these four, grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, they are facing, at this point, 68 total felony charges, which could result in 192 years in prison for the lot of them. But again, I think that probably Gary Jr. will serve the majority of it. Um, Maybe grandma, but grandpa senior doesn't seem to be in good health at this point, and I don't know. Elizabeth, gotta hear more about some of that stuff. But I am definitely curious. Please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Elizabeth. There are people out there who are saying they feel sorry for her because her attorney has been stating that she's been asking about her children, which, yeah, it's great and good, but she really care about her children when they were all stuffed into this disgusting squalor of a home in a 12 by 12, basically 12 by 12 room? I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't care for them in some way, but does she have any blame in this? Or is she just completely indoctrinated and was just so gaslit by, the Siders when she was, when she married Junior at 15, that, well, it's kind of hard to blame her. But again, you know, it's, to me, it's up in the air, and I'm kind of in the middle with Elizabeth as far as she's concerned. Here is the Vinton County clerk site. I pulled up Elizabeth first, and let's just see what she's got going on here, as far as her case that, well, really, it's just begun. I mean, this is all just begun. And that was all the address and all that sort of info here. And you could see the charges of endangering children, which is a level 2 felony. And then, of course, all this information here that we get, docket information. So the actual complaint, like I said, was filed on June 30th. Um, and then there was an amended complaint copies here. Let's see what we can find. Let's see what information's in here. So this is the original complaint filed. Well, this was June 30th, so it looks like it was actually stamped into the clerk's site on July 1st. But again, this is in a complainant state of Ohio versus Elizabeth Siders. Her date of birth is 8/24/1992. The endangering children, this is count 1. It states on or about June 30th, 2026. And then, of course, that's their home location. Complainant being duly sworn states that Elizabeth Siders in Hamden, Vinton County, Ohio, on or about June 30th, 2026, unlawfully did abuse CS 5/30/2008, a child under 18 years of age, 5/30/2008, in violation of, and there's the statute, 2919.22B1, 2919.22E2D, endangering children, which looks like a felony too. Furthermore, the violation resulted in serious physical harm to CS 5/30/2008. So these are going to be the initials of the children when they're, because they never list the minor's name. They usually redact them or they put initials in the public documents and that sort of stuff. And then there's count two, another endangering children. This one here is involving did abuse ZS. Date of birth is 8/17/2009, a child under 18 years of age. And again, that one also has the violation resulted in serious physical harm to ZS. Count three, it's another CS. So obviously, this is a different child with the same initials. 3/13/2011. Let's see. And then you have another count four. This one involves the child KS, the date of birth of 3/28/2012. Count five would be endangering children. Uh, BS is the initials for this child. Date of birth is 5/8/2013. Count six of endangering children for GS, the third. Sounds like Gary Sider the third, unfortunately for him. September 2nd, 2014, 9/2/2014. Count seven is endangering children involving LS, 5/25/2016. Count eight is the endangering children charge for child VS with the date of birth of 10/26/2017. Count nine, the endangering children for the child JS with the date of birth of 10/27/2019. Count 10, endangering children against the initials are ES, date of birth 9/29/2020. Count 11, being the endangering children charge against NS, date of birth is 2/10/2022. Count 12 of endangering children, the initials SS, date of birth is 2/10/2022. Count 13 of endangering children against IS, date of birth of 1/21/2025. Count 14 of endangering children, IS of 1/21/2025. Sounds like a twin. These are the twins. So these are definitely twins right here, sadly. Count 15, endangering children against BS 1/4 of 2024. Count 16 against WS 1/4/2024, another twin. And that is that particular document that was actually sworn on July 1st. So that would be the initial complaint that was filed. And then you have requests for the warrant, signature sheet, if I could speak properly, arraignment entry, file bond. So there's their bond, of course, that we all know. It's cash, or cash assurity, $300,000, which they're not gonna make. I mean, that's not gonna happen. And then we have 7/1. There was also a filing from the court reporter. The record was taken and hearing was held. That was when they were initially seen by the judge. 7/2, journal entry appointing counsel. So she was appointed Stoley, which she's the one that's been talking a bit as far as giving some information, a little bit about her. I mean, he doesn't have a lot still. He's asking for quite a bit of information about his client. 7/6, which was yesterday, Monday, July 6th. Benton County Sheriff received this warrant on June 20th. And looks like, and they arrested Elizabeth Sider Let's see if this is the actual warrant. Let's take a look. So this is looks like this is the warrant for her. So it says State of Ohio versus Elizabeth Siders to the Sheriff of Vinton County, Ohio. We command you to take Elizabeth Siders, last known address 182 Omar Street, Hamden, Ohio 45634, and her safely keep so that you can have her before our Court of Common Pleas at the courthouse in Vinton County forthwith to answer unto an order against Elizabeth Siders for the original charges were 17 counts of endangering children. And that one had a $100,000 bond, cash or surety, and that one was signed by the clerk of courts, Jeremiah Griffith. So that is the warrant for her. Let's see what else we got. And there was a hearing today. Let's see if there's anything in here with that as we go further down on her docket here. And this is, I think, he mostly filed today. I think Stoley mostly just filed for, yeah, he's filing for discovery, all this information. So again, a lot of it hasn't come out yet, because really it didn't even happen. It's a week ago tomorrow. So there's quite a bit that has to come out. And from what I understand, a lot of the testing has not been completed or it's not been finalized yet. So that would first come to the attorneys, defense attorneys, after the state. And will it be available to the public? I wouldn't be surprised if it's not initially available to the public. So he's asking for obviously discovery again, disclosure of evidence, motion for bill of particulars, jury demand copies. Vinton County Sheriff looks like returned the warrant. Let's see. Also today was state's application to appoint special prosecutor, excuse me, and that's looks like they're copying Archer and the state's application to appoint um, the prosecutor, and of course Stoley is copied. Yeah, every court seems to be basically the same, but I've noticed a lot of their court websites are a little different. I'm used to like Florida stuff, and then you jump to another state, and they're a little different as far as that's concerned. But that's where we stand right now as far as Elizabeth, her case is concerned. From what I understand, her attorney is, Stoley's trying to get her released. At the moment, saying that she's not a danger, but we'll see how that goes. So let's see if we can pull up some other family members here. Okay, so we got senior and junior. So let's look at junior first here, because he's really, junior is the reason these children were saved, because of his indecent exposure in public. Law enforcement came knocking at their door, and I say to that, praise God. God does work in mysterious ways. He truly does. So here again, they all have the same prosecutor. His attorney looks like it's a Lee Roberts. Let's see what's going on as far as his case is concerned. The complaints filed. So I'm going to assume that they're going to be all the same. The counts of endangering children. It's going to have all the kids listed by their, initials and their date of birth, which I do kind of wonder how they know all their date of birth. But I'm sure they've done a lot of research and seen what they were able to find. And I don't know if they guessed on some of them or what. And then there's the warrant being requested for junior, signature sheet by VCSO. And yes, this is just the case for the 16. His other case is not going to be in here. There should be another one filed, because obviously they're all different. Every charge has got their own docket. Let's see, arraignment entry filed, and there's his bond because they're all the same, $300,000 cash or surety. Let's see. And then they had that hearing last week on July 1st. A lot of the same basic documents were filed, pretty much on all of them. But it looks like he doesn't have quite as much done on his. I think he has a hearing, either had it today or he has it Thursday. As far as his other charges, I'm hearing the 9th. I could be wrong on that, and but for some reason I think it's the 9th. But I'll see if we can find that out on this one. So that's pretty much junior. So let's look at senior. And here is senior. And like I said, a lot of these are all going to be the same at this point until they get further into the case. Same stuff, request for a warrant, $300,000 cash bond surety. And they're also looking for, okay, looks like he did file today. His attorney looks like is a Dorian Keith Baum. They filed an amended motion to modify the bond for senior, who has horrible health apparently. Oh, so do those kids. So let's see what his attorney filed as far as that's concerned. Now comes the defendant buy-in through counsel and respectfully moves this honorable court to modify the bond, currently set at $300,000 cash or surety, to a recognized bond only, or in the alternative, set an expedited oral hearing date on this motion. The reasons for granting this motion are set forth in the memorandum in support below. So let's see here. All right, so here is the memorandum. Memorandum in support. On July 1st, 2026, the state filed an amended complaint naming the defendant and alleging 16 counts of endangering children in violation of ORC 2919.22, all felonies of the second degree. The defendant was arraigned on July 1st, 2026, and bond was set at $300,000 cash or surety. The 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution reads that, quote, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted, unquote. Emphasis added. I always like when they put that. In Stack versus Boyle, the court found that, quote, the modern practice of requiring a bail bond serves as additional assurance of the presence of an accused, unquote, and that, quote, bail set at a figure higher than an amount reasonably calculated to fulfill this purpose is excessive under the 8th Amendment, unquote. Emphasis added. 342 U.S. 1, 5, 1951. Similarly, 2937.22a of the Ohio Revised Code states that, quote, bail is a security for the appearance of an accused to appear in answer to a specific criminal or quasi-criminal charge in any court or before any magistrate at a specific time or at any time to which a case may be continued and not depart without leave, unquote. The defendant in this matter is a 73-year-old man who appears to have some significant health issues, who has very limited mobility, who exhibits concerns for both his mental health and his competency to stand trial, and has no means to post any sort of bond. Are y'all shocked? I'm not. The defendant has indicated that he will provide to the court every assurance necessary that he will appear to all hearings and comply with all orders and recommendations by whomever is assigned as his bond officer. Should he be released, including wearing a GPS monitor and checking in with his bond officer in person at whatever frequency the court deems necessary or appropriate. While the defendant understands the charges alleged in the complaint are serious, the defendant has denied any and all accusations made against him in the amended complaint, and more importantly, has a vested interested, I think that's spelled wrong, in appearing for any hearings to clear his name. Furthermore, there has been no evidence provided by the state that the defendant poses a risk to himself or to the community. And given the nature of the charges and the actions undertaken by the state to remove all the children who were living in his home, there is no risk to any alleged victim of the charges the defendant faces. The defendant assures the court that he will comply with any additional requirements that the probation department or this court may require of him, including being fitted for with GPS monitor, weekly or more frequent, reporting to his bond officer, and living at a stable residence within the community or surrounding county. Yeah, I'm always curious where the hell is he going to go? He can't go back to that house. It's going to be condemned. While it may be the case that in many cases some cash bond may be necessary to ensure the defendant appears as ordered, it is readily apparent that in this particular case, the defendant does not have the means to post any money as a bond, and as a defendant is unemployed and indigent, and the very basis of the amended complaint was that the defendant was living in a home that exhibited nothing short of extreme poverty. Given that, in the language of ORC 2937.22a, which clearly states that bond is only necessary to ensure a defendant appears as ordered, maintaining only a recognized bond should be more than sufficient to ensure that a defendant appears at all hearings. Wherefore, the defendant, by and through the undersigned counsel, respectively requests this honorable court to reduce the bond, currently set at $300,000 cash for surety, to a recognized bond only, or in the alternative, set an expedited oral hearing date on this motion. Respectfully submitted, Respectfully submitted, Dorian Keith Baum. Do y'all think he's really going to appear? I don't know. I don't trust him, but I don't know. Do you think that the judge is going to grant this? I'm curious. I'm suspicious. Yes, he's an old dude. He's an old man. But, I mean, look at what they've put these children through. I don't have a lot of trust in any of them, you know? I mean, they've floated around. They've been in the area for 4 years, so I don't I don't feel like that there's any trust at all for that, but we'll see what the judge has to say for senior. So it looks like that's the main thing that his attorney filed today. So we'll keep an eye to see if seniors uh, gets that released with a GPS monitor, and then of course if Elizabeth also gets released, because I don't know, I think the two of them might have the best chance. But we'll see if any of them get released. So we have one more to pull up. We got Grandma. Don't forget Grandma. Grandma is the last one. Here is the docket for Christina Siders, aka Grandma. It's easier to call her Grandma, but that's her name, Christina. Again, it's all the same initial complaint filed, amended complaint, the warrant, her $300,000 cash surety. And let's see if there's anything. Let's see what happened today. So, okay, her attorney, let's go up here. Her attorney is Kendra Roberts. So, Kendra Roberts, she looks like she did some filings today. She did the state's application to appoint. Okay, they took care of that. So they got her her defense attorney. Defendant's motion for bill of particulars filed, notice of appearance of counsel filed, and defendant's demand for discovery filed. So not as extensive as Elizabeth's attorney has filed, but pretty much the same sort of stuff. They want to know, what do you have against my client, basically. So, but this attorney hasn't filed anything at this point anyway regarding trying to get Christina's bond reduced or removed or any of that sort of stuff. So she's kind of, she's gonna sit there for a while. Not that all of them aren't gonna sit there, but yeah. So that's pretty much where everything stands from the point of view of the Vinton County Court. let me know you guys' thoughts on things as they stand right now. Um, I am going to go through some of these interviews. There was an interview with one of the first responders. The relative has spoken out, so we'll do that either tomorrow or the next day. So if you haven't seen that, I will go through that, and of course any other interviews that pop up in the next day or so. But yeah, there's not a lot out, but we're also starting to get little pieces are kind of starting to come into place. Um and obviously the families are not happy that folks are getting on them because these folks lived in this squalor, and they're like, well, you know what, this is not what we knew about. We didn't know that they lived this way. We would have helped them, blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't have helped them, because obviously Elizabeth's family, they had a lot of issues as well. They were estranged from her, um but at the same time, you know you can say whatever, after the fact. They're claiming that they didn't know any of this until the public did, until it came out. Okay. But you can claim that, all day long. But did they truly, truly know or have any suspicions? I mean, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. And as far as um Gary Jr. being the daddy of all these kids, I'm gonna be very careful here. I don't know if Junior is papa to all those kids. I mean, she would be having one about every month. I mean, you got 18 years old, then 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10. I mean, she's popping them out like nobody's business. Do y'all think Senior is not only grandpa, but he's kind of daddy too? I wonder. And then also, were there other males involved? That will come out. It's going to come out. I'm not saying Elizabeth's not the mom, not that, didn't give birth to all these kids, but I kind of wonder if Junior's not the father to all of them. He's not, as we like to say, the sperm donor, you know? But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, this is very, very, very disturbing, no matter how you look at it. And yeah, I really do feel for these kids, and I hope that their lives only get better from here on out. All right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and most of all, stay safe.